There is a difference between a dealer who deceives you and a brand that builds the deception into the process. This video is about the second kind. Most of the conversations we have had in this series have been about the informal habits of the used car trade, the phrases service advisors learn on the job, the part exchange tactics that develop inside individual dealerships, the things mechanics do when there is commercial pressure and nobody watching. Those practices exist because the system rewards them. But they are not always formal. They are not always written down. What we are about to cover is different. According to Steve, there are 9 things that BMW dealership staff are directed to handle in ways that protect the brand and the finance product at the customer's expense. Not 9 things that individual dealers invented, 9 things built into the process. There is one of them, the 9th, that Steve said he found hardest to describe, not because it is the most obscure, because it involves a person in the dealership who you believe is on your side. And that belief, according to Steve, is the thing the whole technique depends on. These are the 9 things a former BMW specialist says the dealership never tells you before you sign. Point number 1. The car is not the product, the agreement is. This is the first thing Steve said to us. And it is the frame through which every other point on this list should be understood. When you walk into a BMW dealership, you believe you are choosing a car. The model, the spec, the color. The car feels like the transaction. The finance is the mechanism for paying for it. According to Steve, that framing is the wrong way around. Picture this: you are in the showroom. You have found the car you want, a 3 Series Touring metallic grey, full specification. The salesman asks what monthly payment you are comfortable with. You say around $450. He nods. He goes away. He comes back with a number, £443 a month. You feel like you got what you wanted. You did not. The number was engineered to land where you said you could manage. The car's price, the GFV, the term, the APR, all of those variables were adjusted around the $450 figure you gave them. The monthly payment is the output they reverse engineered toward your ceiling, and you have just told them what the ceiling is. The PCP agreement is not a method of buying a car. It is a financial product in which the car is the collateral. The profit centers are the APR on the agreement, the margin on the guaranteed future value, the add-ons in the finance office, and the retained equity when the car comes back at the end. The car is the vehicle for the financial product, not the other way around. Steve told us the training he received was structured around one priority: keep the conversation on the monthly payment. Not the total cost, not the APR, not the GFV, not the end of agreement implications, the monthly payment. You think you are negotiating the price of a car, you are actually inside a finance product. And the finance product was built before you walked in. Steve said he was taught to understand the distinction in his first year at BMW. He said it changed the way he looked at every conversation he subsequently had at that desk. Point number 2, the guaranteed future value is not the floor, it is where the margin begins. The GFV is the number at the end of the agreement. The balloon payment you either pay to own the car, hand back, or roll into a new deal. BMW Financial Services presents it as the guaranteed minimum value of your car at the end of the term. The word guaranteed does a great deal of work. It sounds like protection. It sounds like they have committed to something in your favor. According to Steve, the GFV is set conservatively, and deliberately so. Here is the scene. A BMW 3 Series is expected, based on BMW's own residual value modelling, to be worth approximately £12,500 in 3 years. The GFV is set at £9,800. The car almost certainly comes back worth more than £9,800. Most do. And when it does, the customer hands over a car worth £12,500 and receives credit for £9,800. That £2,700 difference is retained by the finance company. It does not reduce the customer's next monthly payment. It does not appear on any document the customer sees. It is simply captured by the structure. Steve said this structure was explained to him in training as a customer benefit, because a conservative GFV means the car is unlikely to fall into negative equity during the agreement, which is technically accurate. What was not framed alongside it, according to Steve, was that in a rising or stable used car market, the customer returning a BMW at the end of a PCP is routinely handing back equity they cannot see, cannot access, and have no mechanism to recover. He asked a training presenter directly about the gap between the GFV and the expected residual value. The response was that residual values are subject to market uncertainty and the GFV represents a guaranteed minimum. Technically accurate, not an answer. And this is where the premium badge starts doing the selling for them. A BMW holds its value. Point number 3. The car you will own in 3 years has features the car you are being shown today does not. You sit in the car during the demonstration. The product specialist shows you everything. Navigation with live traffic, the digital key on your phone, remote services. Lock the car, check the fuel level, set the temperature before you get in. Concierge, the full connected experience. It is impressive. It is seamless. It feels like the future. And it feels unambiguously like what you are buying. According to Steve, you are experiencing the trial version of the car. Some of those features are hardware, some are software, and an increasing number of them are time-limited subscription services, active for the first 3 years of the vehicle's life or for a shorter introductory window, and requiring a paid renewal afterwards. The word subscription, according to Steve, was not to enter the room. The features were to be demonstrated as part of the vehicle's specification. The trial period was to be mentioned. It was not to be contextualized in terms of what the customer would be paying once the trial expired. Here is what that means in practice. You spend £60,000 on a BMW. Every feature works on the day you drive it out of the dealership. 3 years later, you get a notification. A feature has expired, or a prompt appears asking you to subscribe. You look it up. The core connected package, £70 a year. The premium tier, £110. Extended services on top of that. You paid £60,000 for a car, and someone is now asking you for more money for features you thought you already owned. Features you were shown in the showroom, features that, on the day you signed, were presented without the word subscription anywhere near them. Point number 4, the handback conversation nobody prepared you for. You are 3 years into your PCP. The agreement is ending. You have loved the car. You have gone slightly over mileage, 34,000 miles instead of 30. The car has a scuff on the rear bumper from a car park, the kind of thing that happens to every car on every road in Britain. There is light wear on the driver's seat bolster from 3 years of daily use. You book the collection, you hand over the keys, you feel fine about it. The car has served you well. You are ready for the next one. A few weeks later, a letter arrives. There are charges. Excess mileage, 4,000 miles at the agreed rate. Condition charge, the bumper scuff, classified beyond fair wear and tear by an assessor you were not present for. Condition charge, the seat bolster, classified the same way. The total is £1,840. You had no idea. Not because you are not intelligent, because nobody told you. Steve told us the training around the end of agreement was explicit in one direction and completely absent in the other. Ensure the customer understands the process for returning the car. Do not ensure the customer understands what happens if the condition assessment generates charges. Who conducts the assessment? That the customer is not present when individual items are classified, what the dispute process is, or how short the window for initiating it is. The dispute process exists. It is real. But according to Steve, a customer who does not know the dispute process exists cannot use it, and the training was not designed to make them aware of it. He said, the sales training I went through was very detailed about the entry to the agreement, what the monthly payment would be, what the mileage allowance was, what the GFV was. It was silent about the exit, about what a typical handback looked like in practice for a typical customer, about what an assessor does and what fair wear and tear actually means in their assessment. That silence, according to Steve, was not accidental. It was built into the conversation. The customer he described, the BMW 3 Series, 4,000 excess miles, 2 condition items, £1,840, had not been irresponsible. They had maintained the car. They had driven normally. They were blindsided by a bill at the end of a process they had believed was straightforward. And the dealership that sold them the agreement had known from the structure of the sales training that this kind of exit was a possibility. They had chosen not to include it in the entry conversation. Not every handback produces a charge. Many customers return cars within the agreed terms without a bill. But according to Steve, the gap between what customers understand about the exit from a BMW PCP and what the exit can actually look like is consistent enough and deliberate enough to belong on this list. Point number 5, the service package comparison that was never run in the room. At the point of purchase, you are offered a BMW service package, fixed cost covering your scheduled servicing for the term of the agreement. The pitch is presented as straightforward. Fix your costs, protect against price increases, budget with certainty. The package price sits between £500 and £1,200 depending on model and term. It is offered at the end of the finance conversation when the main decision has already been made. Steve told us the service package is one of the highest margin products in the BMW purchase process, and it is sold at the moment the customer is least equipped to evaluate it. According to Steve, he ran the like-for-like comparison at his own initiative at one of the dealerships he worked at. For a mid-range model on a 3-year, 30,000-mile profile, the package price and the pay-as-you-go equivalent were separated by between £150 and £350, in favour of paying as you go. The package is priced to carry margin. The manufacturer benefits from locking the customer into the authorised service bay. The dealer benefits from the sale. The customer benefits from certainty, which is a genuine benefit, but it is a benefit purchased at a premium that is never disclosed, against a comparison that is never made. Steve said the training around service packages was clear: present certainty, present convenience, present price protection. Do not present the alternative. The customer who ran the comparison themselves would, in most cases, decline the package. The training was designed to ensure that comparison was not run in the room. And this is where most customers lose money without realizing it. Not through a lie, through an omission. The option that would have saved them money was available. It was just never offered. Point number 6, the X-demonstrator that has been driven by strangers, presented as almost new. A BMW X-demonstrator is a car that has been registered, used for test drives and staff use within a dealership, and is now being offered for sale with a small number of miles on it. Typically a few months old, fewer than 1,000 miles, and priced with a significant discount against a new equivalent, usually between £2,000 and £5,000 lower depending on the model. Steve said the X-demonstrator pitch contains a concealment that operates through framing rather than falsehood. A demonstrator has been driven by multiple people in the way demonstrators are driven. Its brakes have been applied firmly by strangers testing its performance. Its suspension has encountered the speed bump behind the dealership more times than any privately owned car of the same age would accumulate. It has been started cold, driven briefly, and switched off, repeatedly. It is not new in any meaningful engineering sense. It is a used car with a low odometer and a new car smell. According to Steve, the training guidance was to lead with the saving, describe the car as being in as-new condition, and present the short registration as equivalent to new car freshness. What was not in the guidance was any direction to disclose the car's actual use history, the number of drivers, the nature of test drive use, or what demonstrator driving typically looks like. He said, "We were trained to present the saving and let the customer's assumption about near-new condition do the rest. The customer assumes a premium brand would not misrepresent how a car has been used. That assumption was the gap, and the training was not designed to close it. A customer who pays £58,000 for what they understand to be essentially a new BMW and later discovers it had been driven by dozens of people before them has not been lied to, but they have not been told the truth." Point number 7. What the BMW Approved Used badge does and does not guarantee. BMW Approved Used is the manufacturer's certified pre-owned program. Vehicles carry the badge, a warranty backed by BMW Group, and the implication of a rigorous multi-point inspection carried out to authorized manufacturer specification at an authorized dealer. The program is presented as a mark of quality. Cars carrying it are priced at a premium over equivalent non-certified cars. Steve told us the certification process, as he experienced it at dealer level, was not always the inspection the badge implies. He was careful here. He said this directly: the program is not a fraud. He never saw a vehicle certified as BMW Approved Used that was in genuinely dangerous condition. What he saw was vehicles certified within workshop diary constraints that did not always allow the full check to be completed to the standard BMW Group documents. Checklists completed under time pressure, certifications issued in conditions that would not satisfy the customer who was paying a premium for what the badge represents. According to Steve, the gap between the program as documented and the program as delivered at workshop level was a consistent feature of his experience across 2 dealerships over 11 years. Not universal, not on every car, but consistent enough to be a pattern rather than an exception. The premium a customer pays for a BMW approved used vehicle over a comparable non-certified equivalent is typically between £500 and £1,500 depending on the model. That premium is, in some proportion of cases, and according to Steve's experience, purchasing a level of assurance that was not fully delivered. Not every BMW approved used vehicle carries this problem. The program, properly executed, is a genuine mark of quality, and many cars are inspected to exactly the standard the badge represents. Steve's point was about the gap between what the badge implies universally and what the process delivers consistently. And according to him, those two things are not always the same. Point number 8. The gap insurance conversation that left the arithmetic unspoken. You are 3 years into a BMW PCP. 8 months remain. Your car is written off. The insurer pays the market value, let us say £14,800. Your outstanding finance balance is £16,200. You are £1,400 short, not because the insurer underpaid, because the finance balance can be higher than the car's market value. The insurer pays what the car is worth. The finance company is owed what it is owed. The difference is yours to pay, immediately. Most people do not know this is possible until it happens. Gap insurance exists for this reason. Steve's issue was not the product. It was the way the risk was explained before the customer signed. According to Steve, the real arithmetic was almost never shown in the room. The customer was told the monthly cost and that it covered the difference if the car was written off. But they were rarely shown the calculation. Here is your outstanding balance. Here is what an insurer may pay. Here is the gap, and here is what you owe if uninsured. A customer who sees a real number, £1,400, £2,300, sometimes more, understands the risk differently. But Steve said the training presented gap insurance as an optional add-on, not as a specific financial exposure. He said the customer who declines is often choosing without fully understanding the scenario. The information that could change their decision was available. It just was not placed in the conversation. Disclosed and understood are not the same thing. But the 9th thing was different, because it involved someone the customer believed was working for them. Point number 9. The hour with the product specialist was not neutral. It was the beginning of your negotiation. BMW introduced the product specialist role to make the showroom feel different from a traditional sales floor. The specialist, sometimes called a product genius, is not presented as a salesman. Their job is to demonstrate the technology, guide you through the car, and answer questions before the commercial conversation begins. They do not discuss price. They do not push finance. They seem to be on your side. Steve occupied that role for part of his career. He believed in it. But he told us the role served a commercial function most customers never saw. According to Steve, the training was built around emotional ownership, the moment when the customer stops evaluating the car and starts imagining it as theirs. The demonstration, the test drive, the personal attention, all of it moved the customer closer to commitment before a price had been discussed. After the test drive, the specialist would ask the customer to imagine a real journey in the car. Not a technical question, a future ownership question. A customer who imagines driving to their daughter's wedding in a new 5 Series Touring has already begun to own the car mentally, and that customer reaches the finance desk in a different state from someone still comparing options. The premium badge is doing the selling before the salesman sits down. The specialist is managing the emotional state the salesman inherits. And the customer often has no idea that the friendly expert was part of the commercial process. The moment that stayed with Steve involved a retired engineer. Steve spent over an hour with him on a 5 Series Touring. Features, driving modes, configuration, connected technology. He asked about the journey to his daughter's house in the Cotswolds. The man described it. He smiled. Then Steve walked him to the sales team. From across the showroom, Steve watched him sign, and he said that was when he understood the problem. The conversation had not been neutral. The customer had arrived already emotionally committed. Steve said, "I was not trained to help customers make the best decision. I was trained to help them make a decision." Those are not the same thing. 9 things a former BMW specialist says the dealership never tells you before you sign. Not 9 failures of individual salespeople, 9 structural parts of a process where useful information was available but often kept out of the conversation. The hardest part, Steve said, was realizing the training was not designed to produce customers who understood what they were signing. It was designed to produce customers who felt comfortable signing. So here is what to do with it. Before any PCP, ask for the total cost, not just the monthly payment. Before accepting Connected Drive, ask which services become subscriptions and what they cost to renew. Before deciding on gap insurance, ask the finance manager to show the total loss calculation halfway through the agreement. And if you spend an hour with a product specialist, enjoy it. The technology may be impressive, but remember, the hour is not neutral, it has a purpose. Tell us in the comments, have you bought a BMW or another premium car on PCP and only understood something after signing? What was it?